Hello everybody. This is my 10-year off medications video. And before I get started, please just do me a quick favor. Will you please hit subscribe or like this video or comment below, because that's how my videos get out. I don't like it either, but that's just how it works on YouTube. So I would really love the favor. Please do that for me. Okay, next I'm going to jump right in, but I need to give you a disclaimer and a trigger warning. And this is not medical advice. This is my story of what happened to me, and that all timelines are different. So if you are sensitive to timelines, or you're sensitive to suffering, or you feel like you're fragile right now, please just bookmark this and come back later when you feel like you're stronger. I want to say this because I haven't made a lot of videos in the last couple years about my personal journey, because it's been kind of sacred and quiet, and most of the videos on my channel are for you, and I take great care in making the content for you and choose every word very wisely. However, this is not one of those videos. This video today is for me more than it is for you, and it's for me to kind of like, I guess, narrate what happened in the last 10 years and maybe a little before, and to like piece together parts of myself that are still kind of out there and try to make a cohesive narrative, and just to be authentic, because like I value that more than anything. And so I also have noticed that I like to probably fake good more than I should, that everything's fine when sometimes it's not, and that because I'm a public figure and because I work in this field, that I have to like kind of keep my stuff private, which I have the last few years while I've been coaching, because I care about you, and I know that I'm kind of an outlier. How long it took me to recover, my story is pretty crazy. And so I don't want that to, I'd never want that to affect anybody else. And this video is for me more than it is for you, probably. So if you're going to watch, I would just ask you, just ignore the years, because I'm going to say the years and like what happened, and then this happened and this happened. Just take that off. Just look at the process like as a whole, as a bigger, wider picture, instead of like, at 2 years I'm going to experience this, and at 5 years I'm going to experience this. That's not going to happen. I am definitely more on the severe side, and what it's taken for me to get back to myself. So with all that said, for the people that are new, I will have to go over part of my story that they probably don't know. So sit tight while I explain how I was put on psych meds in the first place. My first introduction to psychiatry was when I was like 10 years old. And that was because my father, who is now deceased, had a psychiatrist, and unethically so, my dad would trade work hours for his appointments. So I knew there was a psychiatrist, his family friend, that we would go to his house all the time. My dad was diagnosed as bipolar, so I knew that meds were, I thought, had helped him a little bit at that point. You know, I'm young. But as a teenager, I was put on maybe 6 months of Prozac and Valium because my parents got divorced, and I reacted to that and took on the responsibility of a mother in my childhood, which is way too fast for a kid to grow up. So when my mom left when I was 9, I was like put in charge of the family. And my dad, with bipolar and working 40 hours a week and trying to raise kids in the 80s, 4 kids by himself, that was a lot of pressure on me. And basically I just kind of had like a little mini nervous breakdown in high school. Like, I can't do this anymore. And I was medicated because of that for 6 months. So I experienced my first withdrawal at 15 and a half. Little did I know until much later, like recently, that that's what it was. And it was diagnosed back then as mono, which now I know that was not, mono, not even close. So fast forward, I healed from that. I entered the military at age 18. I'm overseas. I was sexually assaulted at my station in South Korea. Then I reenlisted for Germany to kind of get out of there. And then a year later, I'm deployed to Iraq, where there was multiple traumas. And I won't get into all the gruesome details. You guys won't even have the frame of reference to understand some of the stuff that happened. But long story short, it was like chronic stress. I was given doxycycline as an anti-malaria drug. That's when I first started experiencing panic attacks. I was medically evacuated. Then my convoy got hit. I saw my soldier come back. A lot of these details are in the film Medicating Normal. If you want to watch that, it's free on YouTube right now. And that was my introduction to benzos. So immediately I was medicated. with clonazepam by a military psychiatrist. Then it was a beta blocker because I had a high heart rate. I started getting worse within 2 weeks. Next thing I know, I'm on like Paxil, and then it was Zoloft, and then it was Ambien to sleep, and Lyrica, and all these, like, it just snowballed to the point I was put on 18 meds at the same time in 2006. And it was like an antidepressant, antipsychotic, sleep med, headache med, hormones, birth control, pain meds, migraine medications, stomach medications, mood stabilizer. It was like as much drugs to treat the other drugs in this huge pile, okay? And I was at the worst I've ever been on meds. Then I got a diagnosis of bipolar. I also had major depression, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder with agoraphobia, and post-traumatic stress from my experiences in the military. So that's where the nightmare peaked at the beginning, I guess you could say. I was taken off 10 of those drugs overnight in a psych ward by a new doctor who was like, who put you on all this? And then it took me 10 years to get off the rest of that cocktail. And at some points there was like, oh, this med didn't work, so let's try another. And like, I still didn't really know that like the meds were causing all my illness. Like, I still thought I have severe post-traumatic stress. I need to listen to the doctors. I need treatment. And in some ways I was a poster girl for post-traumatic stress as a national spokesperson for a nonprofit about military. So this is what I want to share. And I think people don't realize this about me because I look so normal now, and I'm put together, and like words came out of my mouth, and I earned a degree, and like I'm smart. But back then I was not, okay? I want to express to you how far I've come. And I've been thinking about it all day because of the girl who was 26 years old on 18 medications, on disability, on Social Security also, from the Army and from Social Security. Barely left her house for about 4 years. I had really severe agoraphobia after they took me off 10, which now I recognize as withdrawal. I attended AA meetings, not that I had an alcohol problem, but just that I needed community and people that understood me and some kind of branch between the military and civilian life. And it was easy for me to do that. I cannot express the girl that used to be, that she had dreadlocks in her hair because she could not take showers, brush her teeth. I had multiple root canals and cavities filled, and even like dry mouth. I had to get fillings in my mouth. I wore the same clothes over and over again. I did not socialize. I did not date. I had severe PTSD where everything was numbed, no libido, no sensation, nothing for like 10 years while I was on the meds, and then another 6 when I was off with the PTSD part. But there's another video on my channel about that. But I just want to express to you, like, all my medical records that I still have to this day say chronically mentally ill, severe and persistent mental illness, not likely to improve. My GAF score, they don't do that anymore, but it was like super low, like not functioning, not social, not able to work, major impairment, disabled 100% by the Veterans Affairs and Social Security. And everybody gave up on me. I was considered, like, even my family, and they didn't know what they don't know, but basically I was given a paycheck and just told to like, go live your life somewhere. And like, nobody really believed in me. I didn't believe in myself. I just thought, this is who I am. I'm ill. There's nothing better for me in life. I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have children. I did get married, but he cheated and we divorced right out of the military. But my life is pretty much over. Okay. And so looking back, a lot of those years are completely gone, like memory wise. I don't remember a lot. Like, a huge portion of my memory is removed from all those medications, including some in high school. Childhood is a blur also. So what I do remember about those years was that I watched crime shows on TV. I had an apartment. There was periods of homelessness where I would stay on friends' couches or in their basement. Or hop to my mom's, and then my mom would kick me out, and then I'd go to my dad's, and then I'd have to get an apartment for 6 months, and then I would go somewhere else, and it was like a friend's house that I didn't even have a lease to protect me. There was drug use because I was so confused about what was happening to me. And looking back, I'm like, I was trying to like feel better. Like I just didn't know what to do. So I was like, let me try this. And that didn't work. And let me try this thing. And that didn't work. But I didn't realize like anybody that's on 18 medications doesn't even have the wherewithal to understand what's happening to them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even know there was something wrong with that. That's how gone I was. I barely took pictures of myself, so I don't even have barely any pictures to share. I'm going to try to look and see if I can clip some in here, but the person that I am now is completely different than the person back then. I had very severe cognitive deficit. Like, I remember I couldn't do my bills, and they were considering me getting someone to take care of my finances because I couldn't understand them. I went like years without doing my taxes because I could not like get the paperwork together. The way my life looked was constant therapy, like once a week, doctor's appointments, then going to the specialist for headaches and specialist for fibromyalgia and endometriosis and all these like tertiary problems that I would have and back pain problems and this and that. And I would like run into Walmart at like 10 p.m. because I was so agoraphobic. I could not grocery shop like a calm person. And I would like grab a couple things and run out, like full of anxiety, full of terror. I could not go to the shopping malls. I didn't do my nails. I didn't buy new clothes. Like I could barely function. Okay. I could barely like walk my dog, do dishes, and go to doctor's appointments. And that was about it. So I met this wonderful psychiatrist, and he took me off those 10, and slowly over the next 10 years, as I deprescribed, not even carefully, I made so many mistakes. I was cold turkeyed off antipsychotics and then put on another one, and then they would taper it for like a month. Then I remember there was a period, it was pretty scary. I had the unalive thoughts from pregabalin, Lyrica. They doubled my dose, and I did some very risky unalive behaviors that involved a garage, and I got scared. It was like I was in a disassociated state or something, and I got really scared like when I came to, and I was like, wait a minute, like I could die. And then I would go to the psych ward. So I had 7 psychiatric hospital visits, a lot of them for unalive behaviors or attempts. I did not want to be here at all. My life was nothing. I don't know what else to say. It's even like hard for me to talk about because like it feels like a different person, and I can even feel myself like while I'm talking about it, like I'm not really in it because there's like something blocking me from feeling how scary that was, you know? So I just want to make that point that I was severe, like I was not good. Okay. So as I deprescribed off like the last 10 of those drugs, I did start to go back to school, and it was part-time. It was easy. I remember having to get the psychiatrist to sign off on my paperwork. They said no originally because the VA had to like manage my case for me to re-enter college. First, they made me do 2 years of independent living. Then they said you can only take 1 class, and it should be like yoga. It was so insulting. And I was like, come on, can I do like English 101 and yoga? So that was my first semester back. And that was in 2011. So I had been 5 years off of that cold turkey of the 10 meds at the same time. So then, as I kept coming off the meds, I got down to Cymbalta and 2 benzos, and I was doing better. Like, let's say like 60% better. I could leave the house a little bit more. I could exercise. I didn't feel good. I felt kind of weird after I would exercise, and I never knew what that was, but I still wasn't socializing. I was not dating. I didn't visit friends, but I could like go to like an apple orchard in the fall or go get a Christmas tree, you know, like little things like that. And then here comes the bad part. This is where I get down to the very last drug. I really, in my mind at the time, I didn't think I want off of everything. I just thought, I just want to be on less. Like, let me just taper down and see if I can get lower on this because I feel anxiety, but I don't understand why is this anxiety drug not working. So my doctor haphazardly let me taper however I wanted. And to give you some perspective, I found the Ashton manual online. I could not understand it, but I printed a copy and I gave it to my doctor, and I was like, can we do it like this? And so I assumed he read it and was doing it that way, but he wasn't. So I dropped a dose from 1.25 milligrams of Ativan to 1 milligram, and that was when my entire nervous system blew up. So basically, I made it about 2 months in that state, and the doctor kept telling me to stop going to the emergency room because I had such weird symptoms like vertigo that I would just spin and spin and spin, and I'd be like, I couldn't even like get my bearings, and I had to call the ambulance. And then I'd have like a jerk, like it would wake me up, and I was like, I think I'm having a seizure or something. Like, it was so scary, the jerks, the way that my body was moving. Then I had nystagmus, where your eyes move. Like, I would sit on the toilet at night and they would just spin my eyes. And so he's like, stop going to the emergency room. There's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, okay, well, something's wrong with me. And so he told me to updose. And so I was trying to go back up to 1.25, but I kept getting worse every time I would take it. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is like, I literally felt like I am poisoning myself. And that third pill, I had a really scary thing happen. I'll try to like not share details, but I wanted to unalive myself, and I took an action, and it involved a knife, and I didn't like do it, but like the urge to do it was so strong that it scared me, because I was in the military. We don't play with knives. Like I was really used to using my M16 in the military. So I was like, that's not a thought that I would have. That's not even in my like lexicon. So like I knew something's really seriously wrong here, because I'm thinking like this and I feel this urge to do this thing. So then I called my sister. She took my dog, and I entered the psychiatric hospital for the 7th time. And that was in 2016. January 2nd. So today is January 4th, 2025. So it was 2 days, 10 years ago. And basically, long story short, the psychiatrist told me, we're just going to take you off. And Monday, they gave me like 0.25 and 0.25, and then I was done. And I remember looking at the clock in the psych ward, like 2:25 p.m. on January 4th, 2016 was the last time I put a psychiatric drug in my mouth. And again, that's not something I had in mind. Like, I want to do this thing. That's just kind of what happened. My gait changed. The way I walked changed overnight. I was like stomping my feet. Like I could not walk right. Like I was walking on my heels or something. And everybody in the hallway in the psych ward was like, what are you doing? Why are you walking so weird? And I couldn't understand why. Then, I got extremely sensory sensitive. So like my sight, my hearing, my taste buds, my mouth, you couldn't touch my skin. My skin turned into like, it like hurt, like my skin was painful. Sweat hurt my skin. Clothes, I could not, like any clothes touching my skin was like pain. And I asked the doctor, like, what am I to expect that you're taking me off? What kind of withdrawal does benzos have? And he said, oh, you might hear voices and they might say your name. So for the next 4 days in the psych ward, I sat playing puzzles and trying to read a book and talking to the nurses, like, do I hear my voice? Do I hear my name? Like, what's going on? And nothing. I never heard a voice, obviously, but it scared me. And then I felt kind of cocky. So on Friday of that week, they said, well, it's counterproductive if you stay here in the psych ward anymore. So we're just going to go ahead and send you home. But I had a MRI while I was in the psych ward, and they did see enlarged ventricles, which looking back, I was like, yeah, brain inflammation, because they cold turkeyed me, but they never investigated any of that. Then the psychologist they assigned to me said, we're thinking that we're missing something, because I kept reporting my symptoms. And, you know, at that point, I'm still in the psych ward. I had high levels of anxiety. It wasn't quite terror yet, but it was very high. I had paresthesias, like tingling in my face and in my skin, and my skin hurt. I couldn't sleep, not a wink. And they kept catching me awake, and they kept trying to give me trazodone and then Benadryl. And I was like, no, I don't want anything. I kept refusing all the meds. And then the psychologist tried to work with me, and they were like, well, we see that you have these really scary thoughts, these intrusive thoughts. So like, just watch them pass by on a conveyor belt. And I'm like, you don't understand. My thoughts are like urges, and they're loud. And the second I get a thought, I get scared by it. Like, it like came with this adrenaline that came with it. I'm like, I can't. Like, what part of this do you not understand? And so I think because I was like able to articulate it better than the average person, maybe, that at least he was kind of taking me seriously, but he was like, I don't know what this is. So I had a full workup for MS. It wasn't MS. I had the brain MRI. While I was in the psych ward, they did tons of blood tests. They couldn't find anything because it was the cold turkey. Okay, so I felt cocky that day when they let me out of the psych ward, and I thought to myself, haha, you know, they thought I was addicted. Like, I'm not, because I wasn't in the traditional sense, you know, like I was taking 1 milligram a day at that point. And then on the way home, I stopped at Starbucks and got a coffee. I get home, I unpack, you know, take a bath, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, go to the gym, and I ate some leftover pizza, and I noticed I can taste the salt and the pepper and the sausage and the fat and the cheese, and like, it was like my taste buds were magnified like 1,000%. And I kind of like gagged, like, what's wrong with me? And then as the afternoon went on, I called a friend and I said, I feel like I cannot be alone right now. Like, can I come over to your house? And she's like, sure. So I go to her house, and then my heart rate just shot through the roof. My blood pressure went up. And so at this point, I'm entering withdrawal on like day 6. And I'm checking my blood pressure constantly, and she's like trying to yank the blood pressure machine out of my hand. I'm like, you don't understand. I think I'm dying. Like, something is really wrong. I could not walk to the bathroom. I had to hold on to the walls. Then I couldn't eat. And so she took care of me for about 10 days, and her and her husband, and she like made me soup, and then she took me to Walgreens and tried to get me to buy all these vitamins, and I bought some, and I was like, I can't take these. Every time I take them, they're making me worse. Like, what is going on here? And then she's like, get in your car and go back to the hospital and tell them what you're going through. And I was like, I can't drive. And she's like, Angie, you're driving. And the way she would talk to me like that, like really matter of fact, with like no empathy, actually kind of helped me, because she was like appealing to the part of my nervous system that like needed reality. You know what I mean? Like, don't give in to this feeling that you can't drive, or that you're too scared, or that you can't go to the hospital. You have to, and you're going to get in the car and take your dog with you, because I had a service dog at the time, and you're going to the doctor, and I want you to tell him all your symptoms. And I'm just like, okay, because I'm freaking terrified. I don't know what's happening to me at this point. So I did make, like, once a week they made me go to therapy, and once a week they made me go to the doctor because I'd just been discharged. And so I'm like trying to tell them everything that's wrong with me. And at this point, all the symptoms are just flooding me. Like, here they come. And I'm talking, my acute withdrawal was the worst to the least. It was like severe agitation, restlessness. It felt like the inside of my body was a hot air balloon. But even worse than that, it was more like Hulk Hogan was inside of me. And like, I could just rip my skin off and my shirt off and go running down the street, and I wouldn't even be tired. Like, I could run a marathon, the amount of energy that was in my body. It just felt like I was filled with electricity. Everything was turned up. It was almost like I could feel myself being cooked alive from the inside out. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. It's weird because I haven't even talked about this in years, like the way it actually felt. I could not read. I could not watch TV. I couldn't listen to music. I couldn't even see faces. I'm pretty sure I did experience some psychosis, people would say, but I was in reality still, like, I wasn't completely gone. Like, I was aware that what I was thinking was not correct, and what I was experiencing was not normal. And on top of that, the fear was, if I go back to the psych ward, they're going to put me on meds again. And if you give me one more medication, I am not going to be here. Like, it was that serious. And recently I've talked to some of my clients about this, because I think there's a range of injury where some people entertain that, or some people feel like they can do that. I knew in my bones, like, I can't. There's no way. If you put one more drug on this, I'm done. And so those were like the top symptoms, but then suicidal, like unalive thoughts, constant, 24/7, literally fighting with myself not to do it. But on top of that, it wasn't even just a thought. The thought was really loud. I was super aware of it. It was filled with adrenaline. It was constant. and it felt like it was about to happen and I wouldn't even have control over it happening, and that I was 1 second away from doing it, and that I would not be able to stop the train that was about to leave the track. Okay. I could not, I had such pain in my lower spine that any movement at all, like even sitting on the toilet, the amount of pain in my body was so great. Like, I told my sister, go buy me some meds off the street because I cannot live in this body right now. And obviously I didn't take anything like that, but I was too scared to. But I sat on a donut. I could not, like a blow up donut. And I had to lay in a recliner. I could not sleep. For the first year, I slept 20 minutes to 1 hour. I have all the Garmin data to prove it because I wore a Garmin back then. I could not stand up to shower. The closed space and the feeling of the water hitting my skin was so overstimulating. Like, I felt like I would have a seizure in the shower. Like, I could not bend over. I could barely drive to get myself groceries. And imagine, like, the feeling in my head was like this fuzzy cloud block. But like I was like an old static TV filled with terror and electricity and trying to drive a car like that. And I lived in that body for 3.5 years before I got like any substantial, like, okay, it just came down 10%. And looking back, like, well, I should say it like this. I've worked with hundreds of people since then, and I have never seen anybody go on that long feeling that bad. And I'm like, why was it so severe for so long? And then when I was looking through my medical records, I'm like, oh, now I know why. Because I had been on and off of benzos for 13 years, and it was like Xanax for 2 years and then off. And then they'd put me on antipsychotic to probably cover up the withdrawal. Then it was Klonopin for a year and then off, and then put her on Cymbalta plus antipsychotic plus Ambien that would mask some of the withdrawal. Then I would be off that, put on Ativan. And so looking back, it had to be the kindling phenomenon. That's why it lasted so long. And it was such a shock to my nervous system. It had nothing else to do but go into that state and stay there. I never knew if it... I had a feeling it's going to be so bad. I don't know if I'll recover from this. Like, it's going to go on and on and on and on. And people ask me all the time, like, did you have hope? Hope was not even in... I think I wasn't hope. It was, I was too afraid to do anything to myself because I thought it would be worse. It was also a little bit of anger because I thought if I die, they're going to say, oh, we tried to help her. Like, she was just a disgruntled vet and we tried everything, but like, she just never got it. And I was like, that's not what's happening. And then also the film saved me in a lot of ways. And I need to tell them this again because I did not want to do the film. I had already been in 4 documentaries before that and multiple commercials, and I'm sick of cameras being in my face. And I was like, I'm not going to make it. Like, don't film this. You know, I was so bad. I was like, I can't even like sit up to do an interview. Like, how am I going to be in a movie? And then like when I unalive myself, they're going to put it at the end and be like, oh, she was such a great person, but she didn't make it. I was like, no, I can't do this. But because they talked me into it, I was like, I can't do that because I don't want that to be my legacy in this movie. So in a way that saved me. Sorry, the battery died. Okay, so I'm going to get on with it. Because I could just tell you every little intricate detail, but I really want to get to some of the things that I learned, and I want to get to now and like what's happened in the last couple of years. So basically, if you want to hear timeline, the first 3.5 years were full-fledged acute withdrawal. I would get maybe 10 minutes once a month, sometimes once every 3 months, where it just felt like it would come down a little bit, like 20% or 10% for like 20 minutes. And then I'd be like, oh my God, hurry up and call my grandma or something. Like, cause I had a grandma that died right as COVID started. So it was like, let me go visit her really quick, like that kind of thing. But like, I didn't feel good at all. And I mean it when I literally could say, I was studying to be a therapist like before this happened, and psychology and all that. I was always like fascinated by the brain. So it was like I was fascinated and horrified at the same time, like what was happening to me, like I couldn't believe it. Like I could not believe the level of pain and suffering. And it felt like I could feel every single little bodily process happening. I could feel every neuron in my body, and it was all turned up like raw nerves. So I felt everything from digestion to drinking water to like this, every sun ray, like everything was amplified, all my senses. My vision definitely got hit the worst, and I'll talk about that like when I get into some symptoms and later on, but basically 3.5 years. And again, I will tell you that since I've been coaching people for 4 years, I'm kind of glad like I didn't know what I know now, because I don't know if I would have made it. And I'm like, whoa, I had a lot of symptoms that I've never even heard other clients say. And I have one symptom that I've only had 2 other people. It's about the harm thoughts, but not against myself. It was about other things. That's all I can say it so I won't get censored. I've only had 2 other people, 3 of us total, that have had those kind of thoughts and urges, which falls under akathisia, which there's research under akathisia that you have these certain things. And to me, it was the top level. Like other people hadn't had that. And so when I look at the similarities between me and those others, benzos was the common, and kindling was the common, and cold turkey. One other person has the same vision problems that I have. I've only met one, and they were given GHB. It wasn't even benzos. And I hope this person is watching. And if you are doing better, please let me know. But my vision really took a hit hard. It started as, I think it was month 8. If you go back and watch my videos, you'll see that like, I think I got a little too sure of myself in month 6 because I didn't know what was ahead of me. And I think I had a little bit of a honeymoon period, and then wham, I got slammed in month 7, 8. It got worse and worse. And it did feel, and I've noticed that phenomenon also working with people, like it kind of like ramps itself up. So my vision issues started with like little starbursts around objects, and then it turned into like really heavy duty floaters. And then I would see like this black shadow out of the corner of my eyes. And then I started seeing tracers with all the lights. And then I started seeing things in slow motion, like a hubcap wheel would be turning. And if I would look away, I could see the hubcap frozen. And then it turned into, I could see like, what is it called? A ceiling fan. If I would look at it and then look away, it would freeze. And then I would see like black shadows behind objects, like when things would move in front of me. I got a full neuro-ophthalmology workup, I think in year 4 or 5. And the guy basically said, you have a 50-50 chance that this will go away. We can give you clonazepam. And I was like, no, that's what caused it. And then when I told him, this is what I think with benzos, like I had some glutamate excitotoxicity. And of course I did not want to take clonazepam, because that's what I thought caused it. And he neither confirmed nor denied my hypothesis. But I basically told him, I think I had glutamate excitotoxicity after the cold turkey, and that's what fried my neurons in my retina or in my brain or my processing. And he basically said, you're processing things too fast and there's nothing there to slow it down. And I was like, yeah, because the benzos changed the way my nervous system worked, and now it's not working the same. So anyway, my vision got a very hard hit. And it still has not resolved. That is one of my remaining symptoms. I think I've just adapted to it. I've learned to live with it. It doesn't really get disturbing to me unless I'm like in a really highly stressed state and there's a lot of movement like in front of my face. Then I'm kind of like, I can't take it. But that has never resolved. I do have hope for the future though, because I noticed with my stress response, like if I get really stressed or really anxious, it gets worse. So then I'm like, what if that baseline keeps coming down? Will it resolve? I don't know, but I've learned to live with it. It's not, you guys are probably more bothered by it than I am, honestly. Okay. So let me take you through some more of my timeline, and then I want to get to the good things. Basically at 3.5 years off, I was still very much in hell. And at 4.5 years off, is when the film came out, my rent went up, and I graduated from college. One of my biggest triggers in this community is when people say, you must not have had it bad because you went to school. And honestly, I don't even feel like defending it because it was fucking hell. And I don't think people understand the level of desperation that some of us have to stay in reality. So I'm going to defend myself, even though I don't really feel the need to, but just to maybe explain the situation so I can stop hearing this. Because when people say it to me, it literally feels like a dagger goes through my soul because of how hard it was. So my first year off, I had one class, and it was with one teacher that knew me before, that helped me feel safe, that was like a big sister to me. And I told her what I was going through. I was like, I don't think I can finish school. And she's like, Angie, just come to the class. You don't even have to do the work. Okay, so the first semester was a poetry class. I barely did anything. Some of my best writing actually did come out of me because I was suffering so bad. I would go to her house and sit with her, and she would try to help me with this thing called, I think it was called centering or something. And I could barely do it. And I would just sit in class, literally with urges to do bad things. And I would just look at her face to try to stay in reality. And really, I was faced with this choice where if I quit school and stay home, I am going to lose touch with reality because I don't have support. I have no one around me, and I need to be around people. I had the strongest sense that that is what I needed. I need to be around people. So maybe it was monophobia. I don't even know. I don't really care what the word for it is. But I did feel like I am right on the edge of losing touch with reality. So also, I was in a program through VA that if I quit that program, I was going to lose all of my benefits. I think I was like, what was it? Like 6 credit hours from graduating. And the only classes I had left were electives. So literally it was like the rest of my program was art and writing, which I knew the teachers. So I was like, I have to stay in reality or I'm going to lose everything. And honest to God, I was like, I don't even know how long I'm going to be able to keep this up. But like, let me just take it one class and 1 hour and one assignment at a time because I don't even know if I can do it. And somehow I pulled it off. Okay. But I'm telling you, and you can ask my teachers this because this is how serious I am about this. I had ice packs underneath me while I was in class. I would dig my nails into my arm because I was so dissociated. I thought I was going to lose my freaking mind and scream in the middle of the class. I would constantly run to the bathroom. I had accommodations to where I was able to sit next to the door. I was able to wear sunglasses. I had an accommodation for a note taker if I needed it for extra time for tests, but I didn't have any tests. The school was aware of what I was going through. I don't think they really got it, but it was like written into my accommodations of like all the things that I was able to do. And I could miss class and I could record and all these things. For art, I didn't need to do that, obviously. Then the second class was writing with a teacher that I had known for like 8 years. And her husband taught watercolor. So that whole year, all I did was sit in art class once a week. And usually it was an hour, not to lose my mind. And it was enough for me to have something to look forward to around a person that I knew that my brain recognized, that felt safe around. It was all I had. Okay. So please stop saying this to me because I literally had akathisia sitting in a chair, trying not to hit the people next to me, digging my nails into feeling like I'm being cooked alive. It's not that I was okay and well enough. That is absolutely the wrong idea. It was that I was that desperate and terrified and full of terror. And I used to, thank God for Baylissa. I used to listen to Baylissa's YouTube videos on my way to class, which I had been going to for 11 years of school. And she would just be talking to me and I'd be like, okay, there was one time I got out of the car and I looked down at my feet and it was like my feet would not move. And I was like, left foot, right foot. And I literally had to walk like that into the classroom. It was second to second, but I was sitting in a classroom. Like, I don't know what else to say. Okay. Some people do desperate things when they are losing their minds. And I wish you could just be a little gentle with me around that. It wasn't that I was okay. Okay. So next, let's see. So I think it was like 3.5 years off. By the way, I still have my logs of all my symptoms, and I will tell you, at 4 years off, I still had like 100 symptoms, and it ranged from could not bend over, could not really shower with hot water. I would get like histamine rashes that were like tiny blood spots all over my skin. I was taking lots of baths. I did use Epsom baths against everybody else's advice. They told me not to, and I was like, it's taking the edge off like 2%, and I need that right now. And I would not be on this planet without the Epsom baths. I'm not recommending it to anybody else, but I did use that. I was on a beta blocker until 7 months off, and I tapered it. I did not notice if it was doing anything good or bad. I was getting worse anyway, and I was like, I think it's actually lowering my heart rate more than I want it to, and I thought it was like adding to my dizziness, so I was like, I got to get rid of this. So at 3.5 years off, I finished my program, and then my school basically says, we will give you a full ride, a $40,000 scholarship, and the VA was going to pay for my master's degree. And then she told me, but you have to go full time. And I was like, you're out of your mind. Like, I don't even know how this is going to work. So I'm sorry, it wasn't at 3.5. It was at 2 years off. And I couldn't believe that they had made that offer to me, because I was like out of my mind. But they're like, your GPA is great. We see your resume, you know, this is before I was injured, like, you need to do this program for social work. And then originally I wanted to do clinical psychology, but there's no way I was going to get through a PhD. And I wanted to do public health, but I could not study for the MCAT because I was out of my mind. And I was like, okay, let me do this program, I guess, because I need the money. Honestly, I need the money for my healing, and I need my living expenses covered. And I need something to keep me in reality. So then I entered that program, and it was a 2-year program, and the film was still getting recorded, and they were kind of like, stay in school, like, you got to keep yourself busy. You can't just lay in bed and think about all these symptoms. And I'm like, you're right. Because the energy in my body also was so supercharged. I could not sit still and sit down and just relax. Like, I was like, my brain was like, go, 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 go. And I'd bounce around my house like a ping pong ball constantly. And then there were periods where I felt like if I moved, it got worse. And then I would lay there with a blanket over my head and count my heartbeats and like chant in my head, like, I am healing, I am healing, I am healing. And then I'd have to like counter the intrusive thoughts. So it took everything in me, like every cell of every strength that I could muster, to literally even go sit in the car. Or to like, I had a healing buddy that she'd be like, you're not going grocery shopping, Angie, just get in the car and just talk to me. And then I'd get in the car and like text her, I'm in the car. And she'd be like, okay, now you're just going to back down the driveway. You're not going anywhere. And I'm like, okay, I'm backing down the driveway. And I still have all these messages from her back and forth. Like, she helped me so much. The fear in my body was so great that I remember having this fear out of nowhere that if I sit on the toilet and have to go to the bathroom, then I'm going to have to pull my pants down. And what if I see a rash? And if that means I'm going to need an antibiotic, and then I'm going to die. That's how scared I was, like, constantly. I had severe health anxiety. Like, every little dot was like, I'm dying. Take me to the emergency room. And again, my healing buddy would talk me down. She literally saved my life. And I'd be texting her all day, 20 hours a day. And maybe not the 4 hours I would try to sleep, but I would get like 20 minutes to remember. It was literally minute by minute by minute by minute for years. Then at 4.5 years off, the film started to come out. I felt so traumatized in my city, in my house. I was like, and my rent was getting raised, and I graduated that stupid program. And I was like, I got to get out of here, like, right now. And I did not feel good. And the other point that people hurt me with is, well, you must not have been that bad because you got in a van. Again, I was that traumatized and desperate, and the energy in my body was so supercharged. That's why I got in the van. I literally spent, you can ask one of my healing buddies too, this is funny story. The first day I was on the road, I literally cried like the whole day. I had a severe panic. I was driving through Oklahoma, to go see her. She was my first stop in Tulsa. And I called her from a gas station and I said, can you please come get me? Do you think the cops are going to come? Because I can't drive one more second. I was like, there's no exits on this toll road and I feel trapped and I'm just having the worst panic attack ever. And she's like, Angie, you're just in a parking lot. And I'm like, they're going to come, the police are going to come. And she's like, no, people park in parking lots all the time. And I was like, okay. And then I had to like wait like a couple hours until like I could drive again. And then I drove the rest to her house. So I'm telling you, the first 2 years on the road, I did not see people. I stayed in this van. COVID was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was like, oh my God, like I don't have to go in stores. I can get everything pick up. I don't have to see people. I wear a mask, which the mask would mess with my vision, obviously, but it like let me off the hook for life. Like I don't have to go anywhere. I can sit in my van. And all I did in here, I swear to you, was like play on Instagram and Facebook and read comments all day, lay in my bed and cry. I'd sit on the toilet and have panics, full of terror, barely sleeping. I would drive myself somewhere because it looked like a good idea, like the Grand Canyon, for instance, okay? And of course I'd look normal. I sound normal, but on the inside of my body was like still level 8 out of 10, Akathisia. And I'm looking at the Grand Canyon and I could not feel any beauty. I had no feelings at all. All I wanted to do was jump in it. And I would like purposely drive myself somewhere else to see if I could feel something. And I was like, I can't feel anything. All I feel is like, my eyes were so bad, I like lost depth perception. So the Grand Canyon looked like I was hanging from a helicopter. Like that's how my brain would compute it. Or if I would look at computer screens and somebody would be like, oh, sure, on Instagram, my brain like thought I was on there also. And like I'm flying through the air. Like that's the way it would feel in my body. And then every once in a while I would get this little tiny tinge of like something else, let's call it, where it was like, oh wait, is that a feeling? Like 5% of a better feeling? Like what is that? And I remember the first incident was I was in a grocery store and there was this Asian man by the oranges and I was just looking at the oranges. And of course, like it was so bright and weird and I was so disassociated. I'm like, I probably look like an alien, like in the grocery store. But I just looked at this guy's face and it was like, I guess my brain just like dropped into the present moment or something. And I was like, look at this guy's face. Oh my God, he is so beautiful. And it was like just a little bit of something else besides terror for like a couple seconds. And I was like, wait, what is that? Oh my God, it's a good feeling, you know? And I would like try to marinate on it for a second before it like would flee. And then I'd just be like right back into dissociation, you know? And then that had happened a couple more times. Like one time I just saw this like green rolling hill. I was in California somewhere and I was just staring at it like, oh my God, it's so green. Like look at the color of that. It's like the color is coming back. Except I've heard people explain that. I think Brooke Seam talked about it. Like the color started coming back. It was in her book or something. And I was like, the color coming back scared me. Like my brain got scared just from like probably something that should have been good, but that's how much fear I was in. My brain was like in this hypervigilant fear state. So, so basically from year 4 to 5.5, I was still in hell, but not as much hell. And I think this is important for people to know, like when the hypervigilant stuff starts to calm down, then you can get other symptoms. So this is when you get POTS like even worse. And I would have histamine stuff worse, where I would be really itchy, my nose would run, but I was like, do not go down any rabbit holes. Like I can't even afford to like consider that I need to go to a doctor for something. Like I don't care, just kill me. That period of time, I was very hopeless. I felt like this has gone on too long. Nobody else has symptoms like this far out. I also have a bunch of things against me because I had 40 different meds in 13 years and other people don't have that. I had 3 brain injuries before this happened. I had all this trauma before this happened. I had burn pits from the military. I had multiple traumas like leading up to this. I'm screwed. And I just gave up. And I honestly, looking back, I can see where some of that disassociation and some of that anhedonia was like me like shutting down because I was trying to be stoic to like keep myself together. Like it was both a symptom of the injury, but also like I was just so numb and so robotic. Like it was like I was constantly all day fighting to just like appear normal, but I felt absolutely crazy on the inside. And I did not have hope. Like I was like, I'm just gonna have to learn how to live like this, and I don't even know how this is possible. Like I hate being alive. Like it was that bad. But I'm too scared to hurt myself. So what am I supposed to do? You know? So then I did keto during that period of time, and it helped me drop like 50 pounds. My body was completely thrashed by this experience. And I noticed that it helped some of my neuro symptoms. However, the flip side was when the akathisia was starting to die down, now like I'm getting more energy in my body, but like a different kind of energy because I'm burning ketones. So I would feel that energy like, I don't like this. But then I was like, but I'm benefiting from it. So like, what am I supposed to do about that, you know? So I did keto for a full 18 months. Very strict. I didn't cheat once, like not one bite of any sugar, nothing, no gluten, nothing. And I didn't feel good. I don't even think I had like feelings coming back, really, not even yet. And then at 5.5 years off, my dog, was my service dog. One of the main reasons that I went back to school in the first place is that I was able to do that, being on all the meds and as disabled as I was. And then he dies. And it was like a hospice type situation. It was very traumatic for me. I was barely sleeping. He wasn't sleeping. He had severe diarrhea. And it made everything worse. And at 5.5 years off, I was like, how is this even possible? Like, in a lot of ways, I felt worse than I did in year 2, but like in a different way. So instead of like having full blown like Hulk Hogan sensation in my body, like I needed to run screaming, I could not even like pump the gas on my vehicle because leaving the van put me into like a full fear state, panic. And then I remember when I would take the dog to the vet to get medicine or something, and the vet would walk toward me, it literally felt like I was having a seizure and like my brain was shutting off. And I could not handle any stress. Like it was like, I couldn't even check out at the store to get winterizing stuff for my RV. I had to call my sister and come up to the store and check out for me because I couldn't do it. And where I could kind of do that, like in year 2 with white knuckle, but like I couldn't even white knuckle to do this at this period of time. So then it took another year for me to start to feel better. So it's 6.5 was when things started calming down more. And I was like, oh, wow. That's when I got brave. And I was like, let me try some coffee. And I would say I was probably like 40% better, 50, maybe 50. I don't even know how to percentage it really, because it's like hard to do that when you feel so bad. But anyway, I drank my first cup of coffee very slowly, and I was like, whoa, I feel a little anxiety, but like caffeine anxiety, not like terror. And I was like, wow. And then I remember one day I went in and ordered a chai tea and a croissant sandwich, and I sat outside. And I was like, whoa, it's the first time I didn't think about something and be worried about it and be feeling myself every little second of like what's going on in my body. First time it ever happened was 6.5 years off. And I was like, oh my God. And I think at that point is when I finally had like a little bit of hope came back, like, whoa, I am getting better. And then let's see, timeline wise. So 7 years off, I went to Burning Man, and I didn't know if I could do it. And for those of you that don't know what Burning Man is, you can go Google it, but it's basically like a week festival in the middle of the desert, in the heat, in the sand. I do have air conditioning because I'm plugged in with my RV, but it's like a very harsh climate. And there was dust storms, and riding my bike like 9 miles a day. And I was like, I don't even know if I can do this, but I was like, let me try. There was music and lasers and staying up all night and loud music, like thumping on the side of your van. It like never gets quiet. And I was like, let me try. I don't know. But this is really important. I'm so glad I did that because it showed me that my body was recovering. And it was the first opportunity I got to see that because I was in such a stressful situation. Like I hadn't gone to a concert before that yet. And I was like, wait, like my body can do stuff. Like my brain is telling me it can't, but my body is. And so that gave me this huge boost of confidence. Like, wait, my body is recovering. And maybe I can't believe my thoughts right now because it's telling me like I can't work out, I can't do anything, I can barely travel, I can barely go over a bridge still, I can barely like visit places. Like, I don't know, man, something's turning here. So that was really good for me that I had that experience. So then year 8, I signed up for build team, which meant I was there at Burning Man a week early and helping build our camp. And I'm talking 100 degrees in the bright sun. I was sure I would get migraines because I've had a migraine history, and usually it's kicked off by heat and dehydration. I did not get one migraine. I got sunburned, but I handled it so well, and I was like, oh my God. It was the first time like I did like heavy duty manual labor, and I had like music in my face, lasers in my face, stayed up late, I slept pretty well actually, but I had no wave, no consequence after coming out of that in year 8. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Year 9, I did the same thing, except I worked even harder. And I probably worked more hours than the 30-year-olds and did more heavy labor than they did. And I was like, I cannot believe my body is really like stronger than I even know. So I think it's important to have some experiences like that when you can, because it proves to you like, wait, my body is working. It's just my head that's so not there yet. You know what I mean? So a couple points too. So the last couple years, first of all, there's always this like thing in our community about like, if you're not healed by 2 years off, you have some other anxiety disorder, or if you're all your, or, you know, I think people just assume like you're supposed to heal fast. And I will tell you, I felt so traumatized. It's no wonder it took me so long to recover, because of how bad and deep and like wounded I was just from the experience. Like I lost complete trust in my body, complete trust in my ability to handle anything. I don't even know how I got through school. I have no idea. Like, it's a miracle. The amount of torture that I endured, and I don't even know where I got the strength from. When I really like sit and think about it, I don't even know how I got through that. I have no idea. I also think like, I'm not sure. It's like, it worries me because I don't want people to get this good idea. Like, let me just get off my meds. Like Angie did it. I'm like, I don't even know how I did it. Like, I don't know how other people do it because it's that hard. So it's not something to take lightly. It's like really intense what I went through. Raider, lay down. Lay down. I know you can hear him panting. Lay down, honey. There you go. Anyway, okay. So it's not something it was very serious and life-threatening for years. Let me put it like that. Okay, so the last couple years, the reason I've been kind of quiet about my process has been because I still had this energy in my body that was like kind of speedy. And I felt like I was overworking myself because I had to stay busy. But like my travel slowed down, my schedule stayed really packed. And part of it was just because I got like lost in my work, I guess you could say. But part of it was like, I still felt like kind of on the anxious side. And then if I like slowed down too much and really thought about what happened to me, like my brain would explode. And I was like, I just need to stay distracted and stay busy and get off disability and see if I can work and like see what happens. But then like, so that was like the first 2 years. So the last 2 years, so that was what? I'm in 10, 9, 8, 7. So like year 6 and 7, that's kind of where I was. So years 8 and 9 has been like, I dove deep into the mind-body space, mostly for 2 clients that I was working with. But then I was like, wait, this kind of applies to me. So then I started seeing this overlap between I left this traumatic stress, but now I have like these symptoms that come and go that are random, and they occur sometimes, but not all the time. And I can like turn them off sometimes, and like, what is going on here? And I was like, I don't think this is my injury. I think this is something else, but I'm not quite sure what it is. So I started like playing with these principles from different disciplines, from like the chronic pain world, the anxiety recovery world. Some of it absolutely did not work and felt kind of harsh, and like my system can't handle that. Like, so all that to say, I like really had to get to know myself the last couple years, like very intimately, like what is actually going on here. And the coolest part was it didn't feel like trauma resurfacing from my history. Like all my post-traumatic stress stuff that came, that was like the reason I got put on meds, that did not come back. It also didn't feel like anxiety traditionally. It just felt like, honestly, it just felt like a stress response. Like my body kept having this stress response, but like in situations that it didn't need to. And it would just kick up these symptoms of like fear. And I was just like, okay, what is this fear about? And so I had to like really intimately get to know that. So I'll tell you this story really quick. This is a long video. I'm so sorry. It's going to probably be like 3 parts. But so 2 years ago, I have this friend named Nancy, and she runs a horse equestrian thing for veterans. And she's a Gestalt equine facilitated coach. So she uses the horse while she coaches you, basically. I was feeling so bad, and part of it was stress, part of it was like not taking care of myself and working too much. And I was like, I don't feel good. Like, I don't want to go to therapy. Meds is not even like ever a thought in my mind, but I was like, I need something because I don't feel good. Like, I don't know do I need to get in a house? Do I need to like stop working? Like, what do I need to go back on disability? Like, what do I need to do? So I called Nancy. And the most beautiful thing happened. She let me stay on their ranch, and she was like, you need to calm down a little bit, like slow your roll. And then she's like, come out and let's do a session with the horse. So we go in the stall, and I don't even remember how it started, but long story short, she had me like running the horse in a circle around the ring. And then I felt like dizzy and out of control. And then she's like, see how your symptoms show up. Like, slow the horse down. And then I got that fear response. And then I explained to her, like, this is all that's holding me back. Like, there's this part of me that is healthy and healed, for the most part. And then there's these like lingering symptoms and this fear stuck in my body. And I feel kind of traumatized. And like, I hate that part. And I don't want that anymore. And I want my life back, like completely. I don't want this stuff. And she's such a beautiful person that she is. She like yells at me. She's like, Angie, you can't hate part of yourself. And I was like, but I do. Like, I just want to be whole. Why does it take so long to get myself back? And then she's like, you have to love that part. You can't like keep pushing it away and telling it to shut up. It keeps trying to get your attention. It wants you to feel it. And I was like, but I can't. It's too scary. And then she's like, well, you need to figure that out. So Nancy and I talked a lot about trauma and like the energetics on your system. And then I dove even deeper into that. And then I found some pretty cool people on YouTube. I'll say a couple of them because it might help you. I dove deep into like Russell Kennedy's work, the Anxiety RX book. And he doesn't really talk about anxiety, believe it or not. It's all about the danger signal in your body. Like, uh-oh, what is this? Oh my God. I didn't really identify it even as that. It just felt like this fear would come up, and like, then I would get scared of it. So then I would have a second fear, and then I would resist it, and then it would make things worse, and then it would kick up some symptoms. And I'm like, but then sometimes it wouldn't. So I'm like, what is going on here? Like, if this was really an injury, it would be like this all the time in every scenario and every time I went to the post office, but sometimes it wouldn't be. So then I started seeing the inconsistency of that. And then I also started seeing like it was tied to my stress. So like the more stress I had, the more fear I would have. And then, so I just been working on that. And it like, to me, it didn't even matter. Like, is this old trauma? Is this new trauma? Is this from, it didn't feel specific. It just felt like I have this fear in my body. I don't know where, it's not always here. It just shows up when it wants to. It didn't even feel like a wave. Like, it was just like some kind of remnant of fear that would kick up. that would produce other symptoms. And a lot of times, like, I would go speak in public in front of 250 people and I would feel it. And the more I just talked and stopped like paying attention to it and like giving it, like fearing it a second time, then it would just die down and I would finish my talk. And I'm like, that's the best talk I ever gave. I don't even understand it myself. You know what I mean? So like, I'm living this great life, but like, I still had this like fear stuff. And I was like, I'm not even sure what this is. Like, I need to work on it quietly by myself and try to figure this out. So that's kind of what I've been doing the last 2 years. And then the other parts of it have been like, I've been trying to date and have relationships again. And I've had like situations like, I guess like some of my abandonment wounds from childhood came up. I worked on that, but not like with a therapist. I've been doing like mind body self-therapy stuff and somatic experiencing, which is what I trained in for a year. Just mostly like getting back in touch with myself and my feelings and feeling feelings in my body instead of thinking about them and feeling them in my head and making up stories about them and like, what does this mean? And who do I need to talk to? Like none of that. It's all been like very body based. I've been working on my exercise and getting my body back, and I'm stronger than I've ever been. I was just at the gym like an hour ago. That's basically what I've been concentrating, like living life. So I guess I want to share some of the lessons that I've learned, some of the hardest parts I kind of already said, but really I learned so much about, Raider, can you lay down? I'm sorry, he's panting so much. Lay down. So really I wanted to share some of the suffering part, but I also wanted to share some of the good stuff, which I'm sure most of you want to see. So in your mind, you think it's like 10 years of hell. It has not been 10 years of hell. The first 3.5 were the worst of the worst of the worst. The next 2 after that were pretty freaking bad. Like 80% of the first 3 years. The last 2 have been way better. Way. I'd say like actually 2.5, 3 have been way better. Like my feelings started coming back. My sexuality started coming back. My femininity started coming back. I got to do lots of fun stuff in that area, trying to like figure out who I am again. You know, I'm on a break right now, like, cause it's not been, it actually adds stress to me. And I'm like, I don't have time for that right now. I have other stress that needs to be attended to. But, my feelings came back. My ability to exercise came back. I go to stores all the time. I can't even tell you how I wanted to cry so hard when, after I saw Nancy 2 years ago, I went to the grocery store. I had this experience where her and I, like, for me, it's not I guess it would be called a flare. It's not a wave, but I would get these flares of symptoms in certain situations, and it would like flare up and then calm down. So for instance, my dog got bit by a spider in March, and it would flare a little bit at the veterinary's office, and then it would calm down because it's stressful and I'm scared. So it's like my body doesn't like that stress response because it kind of feels like akathisia. I would, like maybe there's a reminder of it, or anything that kind of smells or sniffs like acute withdrawal. My body is scared of that. It doesn't want to feel that. I don't want to skydive ever again. No, thank you. I don't need to feel a bunch of adrenaline, So it seems like these stressful things would just kind of flare me a little bit, and then it would calm back down like the minute I was out of the situation. So things started to calm down once I started getting a new relationship with myself and like really being tender and compassionate with that feeling that was like a exile. So this is what I figured out for me, and this actually just happened maybe a year ago. I went to my favorite place. It's in Palm Springs area. I'm not even gonna tell you where it is, but it's got like a pool and a spot because I don't want anybody to know it's my place. But I go there, I'm like, this is my favorite place. And I got like a day pass to go swim in the pool, and I got in there and I just felt like so anxious. I'm like, what is wrong with me, man? Like, I just feel all this fear in my body today and I don't even understand why. There's no reason. This is my favorite place. So I check in, I give the lady my credit card and I order some food, and I was like, okay, let me go sit in the corner because my fear wants to be felt today. And I just go sit in the corner and I'm like, okay, whatever you need to do. And I just sat there with this huge amount of fear in my body. Like, it could have felt like I was going to die or something, or like some massive car accident just happened and I watched it, and like I'm waiting for the ambulance to get there. Like that's the amount of fear it felt. And then it kind of started talking to me, and it was like, when you were a kid, you couldn't feel afraid because you had to hold it together for your family, and because if you showed your emotion, your dad would have yelled at you. Then I was like, it told me you couldn't feel fear in the military because you were still trying to be brave for your soldiers, and you were in a war and there was no time to feel afraid, and remember how you used to swallow it. And then you couldn't feel afraid when you were in acute withdrawal and had akathisia, because if you really felt how afraid you were, you would not want to be here right now. And I've been here this whole time, and it's time that you made room for me to be felt, because I keep knocking on your door and I'm not going anywhere until you feel me. And I just sat there and just let myself get as afraid as I wanted to be in this safe place. And it like kind of calmed down, and I was like, whoa, that was really weird. Like, what was that? And so I just been doing that for like 2 years with everything that comes up. And I mean, I learned that in withdrawal. Like, you can't fight these symptoms. They are here. They're not going anywhere. So it was crazy to me. And I continue to be validated that I was like onto something. So if you go back and watch my video from 5.5 years off, I dove into some of this. But I think I got dissuaded because, number one, my symptoms were way too severe still to even do any of it with any substantial effect. I still need more time for everything to calm down. And I was still too traumatized to even imagine sitting with fear. Like, I couldn't even feel my body at that point. But I was onto something. And then when I started listening to all these things, I was like, wait, this is what I was doing in acute withdrawal to be with these symptoms. Like, I would just kind of like try to loosen my shoulders a little tiny bit and just let it explode. Like, I knew there was nothing I could do, you know? And so that's where I came up with that term, suffering well. I was like, I'm going to suffer. Like, what am I going to do with it? Like, I'm just going to be with it. There's nothing else I can do, you know? So that's what I've been working on the last 2 years. And through the whole process, like when panic would come, I'd be like, stop fighting it. There's nothing I can do. There's no pill to take. There's no doctor to go to. There's no therapist to tell. Like, let your body panic. I feel depressed. Okay, let's be depressed. And I just like radically accepted everything, you know, and I continue to do that. So the best news is I feel better than I felt my whole life. Like, better than I was on the meds, better than I was before the meds. I feel like it almost like stunted my maturity. Like, I could not be mature or like be an adult. I could not like feel my emotions. They were too big. I didn't know how to do it. I had to learn all that in this process. I also feel like even now, 10 years off, like my cognitive stuff, I still feel like my brain hurts every once in a while. And usually it's because I'm way overstimulated on my stupid cell phone, which I'm working on. And I'm on Zoom all day with clients. And I'm talking and I'm thinking and I'm always kind of on. And I've been trying to make room for like less on time, which some of you get mad at me because I don't answer your messages or emails, but I can't. I need rest too. So I still feel like I am a little bit cognitively impacted. However, I think at this point, I don't think it's withdrawal related. I think it's from overstimulation, busyness, and perimenopause, and not being as hydrated as I should be. So there's things that I want to do. Like, I want to finish writing my book. I have 70,000 words, and I want to write. I have actually like 3 books in me, but like the second one I'm starting to work on, while the other one goes to the editor. But like, I still feel like kind of a block cognitively of concentration and focus. And I really do think it's my phone more than it's withdrawal. Like, it's made me distractible. I also still feel like a little bit of go, go, go energy, but I think it's like who I am, because I was like that in the military before this. So I've been working on slowing that down. It's not the same quality as like withdrawal was. It's like, oh, this is who I used to be. Like, I'm kind of high strung and a little type A. And so this experience also taught me how to like live differently. Like, I don't want to be busy all the time. I don't want to work 80-hour weeks. I want to like take it easy and read and write in 2026 and relax and like lay on the beach in the sun. And so where am I today? I'm 200% better than I've ever been my whole life. And I still have like 10%, 5%. I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it. I still have vision issues, fear in my body, and that's about it. I don't have any more symptoms. I can't even think of any symptoms. I have tinnitus every once in a while. Like if it's really quiet and it's like I go to a concert or something, or I'm really high under stress, or there's like loud music, I'll get it every once in a while. But like it doesn't bother me. I could care less. It's like in the background. Yeah, I'm like trying to scan my body. Like, do I have anything else? No, that's it. And I feel like really lucky that I escaped this experience with like no other issues. Like it didn't crash my thyroid, you know, I didn't get like chronic fatigue syndrome forever. Everybody has all these fears. I didn't have to use an antibiotic. I didn't have any setbacks. I did have a rash from a breast biopsy. I had a breast cancer scare a couple of years ago. I've had COVID 5 times, bounced back every time. The first time was the hardest and definitely had some like long COVID-ish symptoms, but only for like a couple months, and it was just fatigue related and itchy. I had itchy arms. My last conquest is definitely relationships. Like I have had a very rocky time keeping relationships, making friendships, losing friendships, people treating me poorly, me perceiving them earlier in withdrawal. Like I was very emotionally sensitive and I lost friendships because I took things wrong, but they didn't, those friends who are in the withdrawal community should have known to tell me, Angie, you have neuroemotion. But like we didn't talk about it back then like we do now. And so I didn't even know that that's what it was. I thought this stuff was real. And it's like, no, my emotions were coming back and they were all over the place. So I really want a boyfriend. Like I really want a partner soon. So like that feels like the last part that I still just haven't gotten back. And then the last thing I wanted to say was, there's always this question of like permanent, is it permanent? And I would just say like, do I have symptoms at 10 years off? Yes. Do I relate to them as permanent? No. The way I see it is like, I'm lucky that that's all I have. Like after all the 40 medications that I was put on, probably more than that. I just pulled some records to find them, but not all of them were psych drugs. Some of them were hormones and birth control and headache pills and pain meds and stuff like that. But most of them were psych drugs. I've had like 4 antipsychotics, gabapentin, Lyrica, all this, you know, all the benzos, all the antidepressants. I'm lucky that this is all I have. And do I trust doctors? No, never will again. Do I feel medically traumatized? Like, yeah, I do worry about if I'm exposed to another chemical, like what's going to happen. I do think about that from time to time. And I think our sensitization may be permanent, as in it could flare things up when you have to get another drug. I don't know that for sure. I don't know if it depends on the way you came off. Nobody's doing any kind of measuring of people long term, like over a lifespan after they get off meds, what happens to them 10 years, 20 years, 30 years later. I don't know that, but I know there's no groups of people that are 30 years off complaining about symptoms, so that's good. I just definitely have a little fear, like left in there, like don't touch me with any of your drugs, like you almost killed me. And I fought for my life to get this back, and it's precious. So I think that is why, partly, I live with a zest for life now, because I feel like I'm on borrowed time, and time is precious, and life is precious, and I've already gotten 20 years of it stolen from me, and I'm going to live every second I have while I have it, because it can be taken away at any moment, you know? So I kind of live on that edge. I feel that present a lot of the times, but it doesn't like distress me. It's just like, this is it. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to say no to everything? Or are you going to say yes? I want to live, you know? I have my feelings back. I have my sex drive back, which is great, but it would be nice if there was someone around to use that with. What else? I don't know. Tell me what other questions you have, and I'm happy to answer them or make another video, but I think this one is much long enough, and I'm going to try to condense it somehow. But just hang in there, okay? Remember, my story is a little on the severe side. Everybody's different. Kindling is real. Stay away from extra meds and complicating your situation. And most people recover way quicker than I do. I don't even have clients that are this far out that haven't recovered. So I'm kind of an exception to the rule. So thank you for watching. Please, again, subscribe and hit like, because that tells YouTube that this video is important, which I think it is. All right. Thank you so much.